Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking the real architecture behind building incredibly fast, high-converting websites. If you've ever wondered why some sites feel instantly responsive while others just leave you staring at a blank loading screen, well, you're absolutely in the right place. We're going to be looking directly at some fascinating source material that details how the experts at Viral Chili, which is a premier Breakdance Builder agency, fundamentally optimize a site's underlying performance right from day one. Get ready, because we're going to rethink how websites are actually constructed.
Okay, let's dive into this, because the stakes here are completely financial. Slow websites literally kill conversions. It's a harsh reality, but if your site takes more than a few seconds to load, your visitors are bouncing before they even see a single word of your content. And Google knows this. That's exactly why it rewards lightning-fast websites with higher search rankings. The big challenge for agencies and site owners has always been figuring out how to build sites that load at top speed without having to sacrifice beautiful design quality or all that necessary functionality.
So the crucial point is that speed translates directly into revenue. Based on the data and our source material, just a tiny 0.1 second improvement in load speed can boost retail conversions by a staggering 8.4%. Think about that for a second. Fractions of a second are dictating your bottom line. This isn't just about passing some arbitrary technical test. It's about stopping that invisible bleed of customers who simply get tired of waiting around. So here's our structural roadmap for today's explainer to guide us through this. First, we'll cover the need for speed. Second, Breakdance as the performance foundation. Third, 5 core optimization strategies. Fourth, Breakdance versus Elementor. And fifth, e-commerce and future scalability.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the need for speed.
Before we can even talk about optimizing, we need to understand exactly what we're optimizing for, right? Enter Core Web Vitals. These are the specific technical metrics Google uses to measure real-world user experience, and they are a huge ranking factor for your visibility and search results. First up on the list is LCP, or Largest Contentful Paint. Put simply, this measures loading speed based on when the single largest visible element on your screen fully renders. Usually, this is going to be your main hero image or a massive block of text. If a user is just staring at a blank space waiting for that hero image to pop in, your LCP score tanks, and honestly, the user's patience just runs right out.
Let's move to and see how this builds with INP, or Interaction to Next Paint. This metric measures pure responsiveness. So when a user clicks a button, taps a menu, or interacts with your page in any way, how fast does the page actually respond? If they click Add to Cart and there's this noticeable, really frustrating delay before anything happens, you've got an INP problem. A fast INP means the site feels snappy, responsive, and alive.
Finally, we have CLS, which stands for Cumulative Layout Shift. This one measures visual stability. We've all experienced this, right? You go to click a link, and suddenly an image loads in. The whole page jumps down, and you accidentally click an ad instead. It's the worst! That unexpected visual jump is a layout shift. A great CLS score basically means the page loads predictably, which creates a highly polished and professional user experience.
Moving right along to Section 2, Breakdance, the performance foundation.
Now, in the past, passing these web vitals was totally an afterthought. It was something you scrambled to fix after the site was already built. But for a premier agency like Viral Chili using Breakdance, passing core web vitals is the default behavior. It's a total paradigm shift. Breakdance is engineered from the ground up to generate valid, lightweight HTML right out of the box. Unlike older legacy page builders, you aren't building a site and then spending weeks pulling your hair out over complex post-launch cache tuning or debugging heavy plugin bloat. This intelligent architecture lifts performance immediately without all that extra headache.
Let's get into the specifics in Section 3, 5 core optimization strategies.
So how do agencies like Viral Chili consistently hit scores of 90 and above on Google PageSpeed Insights? Well, it's not magic, it's just brilliant engineering. They rely on these 5 core strategies: minimal code, conditional assets, smart caching, mobile optimized, and no jQuery. Let's briefly unpack how these actually work under the hood.
Let's start with the first strategy, minimal code output. This one directly targets that LCP score we talked about earlier. Older builders often take a single line of text and wrap it in 5 or 6 layers of invisible code. It's a huge problem called deep DOM nesting, and it severely slows down rendering. Breakdance avoids this completely. The HTML it outputs is incredibly clean, meaning the browser has to process way less code, so the page just naturally renders much faster.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the concept of conditional asset loading. Most legacy page builders just forcefully ship every possible JavaScript and CSS file on every single page, even if you aren't using those features. Breakdance takes the exact opposite approach. It actually analyzes the page. So if you've got a simple page with just a hero, a form, and a footer, it's not going to load the heavy code for unused image sliders or accordions. It's a massive win for page load times.
Strategy 3 is smart caching. A Breakdance setup intelligently caches CSS and component data on a per-component basis, reducing redundant server requests. And honestly, the best part? It completely eliminates those unexpected layout shifts we were talking about, which directly improves perceived load time and that critical CLS score. And it does all this without requiring extra headache-inducing configuration from your team.
Strategy 4 zeroes in on mobile. Google uses mobile-first indexing now, so your mobile speed literally dictates your overall ranking. The source material highlights a pretty wild stat. One company saw a 42% increase in mobile revenue simply by focusing on core web vitals. Breakdance achieves this natively. It uses component-level responsive design that scales perfectly across devices effortlessly.
And the fifth strategy? Cutting ties with outdated baggage. Older builders historically shipped with a really heavy library called jQuery, and they just loaded it everywhere, just in case. Breakdance leverages lean, modern JavaScript and has zero dated jQuery dependencies. Removing all that overhead compounds into some major speed advantages, especially when you're looking at complex sites with dozens of custom elements.
Let's look at a direct comparison in Section 4, Breakdance versus Elementor.
And this brilliantly illustrates the stark contrast between the heavy legacy way of building and the Breakdance way. Just let the sheer magnitude of this code bloat difference sink in for a second. A completely blank page built in Breakdance weighs in at a tiny 45 kilobytes. That exact same blank page in Elementor, 576 kilobytes. Before you've added a single image or one line of text, the older technology is forcing the browser to download over 10 times the amount of data. No wonder agencies like Viral Chili see such amazing speeds right out of the gate.
Finally, let's tie this all together in Section 5, e-commerce and future scalability.
Connecting this tech directly back to ROI, all of this speed is absolutely mission critical if you're selling products online. For e-commerce, Breakdance includes native WooCommerce integration, which ensures lightning-fast product pages and seamless checkouts. Since we already know that page speed directly impacts conversion rates, taking this performance-first approach isn't just nice to have, it is an absolute necessity for e-commerce stores wanting to scale.
Which leaves us with this final, provocative thought to chew on. As you look at your own web infrastructure, ask yourself, is your current builder a strong foundation that naturally drives speed and conversions? Or is it a heavy liability that requires constant life support and optimization plugins just to stay afloat? Investing in a performance-first architecture is clearly a strategic edge for long-term scalability. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.